Today is July the 13th, 2015, here in Lynnwood, Washington, and this is James Robert Deal, attorney and candidate for Snohomish County Executive. As I've said before in these little videos, if you're going to elect me county executive, you probably want to know something about me. Am I a morally square person? Am I down to earth, honest, practical? So I want to do these press releases from time to time, and the easiest way for me to do it is to talk it out rather than type it all out. Of course, some of it's going to be on the website, but then there's going to be a link to these videos. The more important part of the videos, of course, is what I say, but this is also a way to give you a taste of the way I would operate as a county executive. These are carrots. These are Brussels sprouts. Notice what we did here. My beloved wife yanked off all these leaves down here, and now they're starting to make the little Brussels sprouts. Now, Brussels sprouts are one of the most hardy of the brassicas. So these will be living through the winter probably, unless it gets down to 10 degrees. Here's a blueberry. I love blueberries. My dear cousin in Arkansas says that the way to make a blueberry produce lots of blueberries is to feed it sulfur. Well, I've got to figure out what kind of sulfur. Here's another zucchini. I'm going to steal a flower. No, I'll steal it off of some other one. These are eggplant. Let's hope they make it, because I love eggplant. This is camote, and this is tomato. And there's another tomato. That's about 6 feet high now. And we've decided to grow them in pots because we can give them more attention. Now today is July the 13th, and we got lots of tomatoes already. Normally we don't get tomatoes until September. So I do a lot of the really hard work, which is digging, moving soil, pruning these grapes, and my wife does the intelligent work of moving plants around, starting them in pots in the garage in February, transplanting, retransplanting, although I do a lot of that myself too. And I do a whole lot of weeding. This is bok choy. So this is my hobby, one of my hobbies. Here's some, what's the name of that? I'll think of it in a minute. This is a nice red kale. It's not rhubarb. This is going to be a cabbage. You see the heads forming up in here? And actually, these leaves are good to eat. As county executive, you must understand that the county executive has limited powers. But I think the real potential of the office is not what power he has to enact laws. Or he does have a veto. He can vote on some bills, but then his veto can easily be overridden. Basically, the county council is in charge, and he is to be a leader of the county. So one of the first things that I'm going to stress is health. And part of health is growing your own food, growing it cleanly, organically. I'm strongly in favor of school farming, school gardens, and not just the students, but there would be also volunteers from groups that want to support this concept, because the kids aren't always available. They need to study. But these vast empty school playgrounds could be producing a lot of food. And in this particular climate, isn't that just so beautiful? So it's time for us to donate to the food bank. And these are carrots. In our wonderful climate, a lot of the a lot of these vegetables will grow through the winter and keep producing. Unless you have a really hard freeze. The beans are starting to climb up what was left of the old mulberry tree. Took it down because it was a male and wasn't producing, with the intention of grafting a female into it. And the first graft didn't take, and I moved, so I never completed the second graft. We went back and the tree had been cut down. So we took the limbs and we made all these supports for beans. We're getting a late start on beans. We put beans in too early, and what happened was, my dear wife started them in the garage and then transplanted them. And later we learned that beans really do not transplant easily. It sickens them and they never realize their full potential. So, teaching health, part of that is teaching gardening. Apartments should be allowed to have gardens. And so, I, as a lawyer, I will propose an easement or an agreement between owner and renters on how a community garden on the grounds of an apartment would be set up. Who would bear the costs? Landlord shouldn't have to bear any of the costs because he's providing the land. This is a rhubarb. This is a pear. And the pears are all unblemished this year. There's some little spots here, and I wonder if the spots were caused by this blight. The blight didn't seem to kill the leaves, it just gave them all pimples. And this is a Italian prune plum. An Italian prune plum. See, it ripens late. This is a fig. Hello, fig buddy. It's only 2 years in the ground, so shouldn't be producing many figs. Problem with figs is that these limbs stick out, and I'm going to have to do something about that because the previous fig got so big and had one year had so many figs on it that the limbs broke, and I couldn't save the tree. Once one of them broke, it was hard to tie up the others. And you can see here the grapes that grow along the fence posts. This is a Asian pear, or pear apple it's called. And this is another kind of plum. Let's see if there's a ripe one. See, it's a real heavy producer. They're not the best plums in the world, though. I'll try that one. Usually I just eat the ones that fall on the ground. Pretty good flavor. Went down the wrong way. Now, when it comes to gardening, I would advise you not to spray Roundup on it. I would advise you not to spray Roundup anywhere. So let's walk back up to the east side of the property. North side. This is pomegranate. Hello, pomegranate buddy. They make these pretty flowers. I don't know if it's going to make any pomegranate fruit this year. And we have just a few raspberries. I just plucked the last of. Oh, here's two. Can you see that? There you go. Okay, let's see. They're kind of shriveled, small, but sometimes tiny is good. Oh, I was talking about Roundup. The World Health Organization has made a public statement that there is conclusive evidence that Roundup is a type 2A carcinogen. And the World Health Organization that made this decision decided by a large majority to classify it as a type 2A carcinogen. And they voted I think 14 to 14 to classify it as a type 1 carcinogen. Because they didn't get a majority, or a big enough majority, they took the alternate position of declaring it a type 2A carcinogen. Now, what is a type 1 and what is a type 2A carcinogen? Ah, there, look. See that zucchini? Probably too dark. We get one zucchini like that every day. And over here is a yellow squash. See? Probably see that. And another yellow squashes grow multiple squashes simultaneously, whereas the zucchini focuses on one big zucchini at a time. Uh-oh, something happened here. Oops. And that was dragging on the ground too. I wonder what happened. I wonder if part of this is edible. I think an animal had dinner, opened it up. Maybe that was opened up a long time ago and rotted. I'm an animal. I eat with the animals. I share their leftovers sometimes. Type 2A carcinogen is one that has been confirmed to cause cancer in laboratory animals. And these laboratory animals are chosen because they tend to form cancers that humans will form cancers to. So they're specially bred for that. Type 1 carcinogen is one that's been proven to cause cancer in humans. Arsenic is a type 1. These are mulberries. It's absolutely too dark now to see them. There's a mulberry. It's just not ripe. Not ripe. Okay, this is now the west side of the house. No sun here. We picked this house because we have 3 sides that get sun. And we have a fence that goes around half the property. And using Lowe's shelving supports, which cost $10 each. See that guy there? Try to get a little closer. It's one of my brilliant ideas. I'd like to prove to you that I will come up with ideas as your county executive. How to grow grapes on the south side of a fence. Usually it's shaded out, but use these brackets to bring the plant up to the top of the fence so that the sun will go over the fence. Then, at the end of the shelving, right here, okay, the berry wire is supported here, and this supports the plant. So you can see they're all very productive this year. And since Emmeline took over watering, she's been giving them lots of water. I think you can't err by watering too much. But if you have lots and lots of clusters of grapes, you got to make sure you give them plenty of water. Because they'll start shriveling, the grapes will start shriveling, then they'll get a gray mold because they're not healthy, they can't fend it off. So we're going to have lots of grapes this year. And it's probably too dark for you to see any of these mulberries. This is a Pakistani mulberry, and I like to go underneath this tree and get these ripe mulberries. I'm going to get some. Then I'm going to go out into what's left of the evening sunlight. These are wonderful mulberries. Here we go around the mulberry bush. I bite off the stems, but I don't think you really have to. Here, I'll just eat the stem and tell you what it tastes like. This is Mr. Backyard Mulberry. So you can see how we've pruned it and keep pruning it. Same with grapes. We've decided The number of leaves should be about 8 times the number of clusters, and not more, because grape will grow runners that grow 20 feet if you let it, and put its energy into making what's called suckers, or runners. I label all these with aluminum tags. See, there's aluminum tags down here. See? Or as the British say, aluminium. And this is a McCampbell, M-C, C-A-M-B-E-L-L, McCampbell. I guess I'm proudest of my grapes. That's not my only hobbies. Research and study, that's my hobbies. Working on my fluoride class action website, working on jamesrobertdeal.org website, working on WashingtonAttorneyBroker.com website. I have to keep up with all of those. I have to keep up with the business website because it's how I get my clients. Mostly what I do, I work as a listing broker, a selling broker. I work as a co-broker. I'll tell you about co-broker in just a minute. I help buyers. If you buy through me, you got to sign an agreement that you'll stick with me and I'm going to stick with you. If you're buying property, you need an attorney, especially one who's been a mortgage broker. So that's how I make my living. And if you don't want to contribute, hire me to be your broker. Now, I also co-broker. Means, let's say a broker has got a deal. He has the buyer and seller shaking hands, but it's complicated and needs an attorney's hand to turn it into a finished product so it can get into closing. So I perform a closing service for other brokers. And they can share part of their fee with me, their broker fee, because I can be paid as attorney or broker. And I'll wait to get paid at closing. I'll see that all the closing docs are prepared, the notes, the deeds of trust. Usually this is for seller carry things and wraparounds and lease options. A lot of agents don't seem to think that the only kind of buyer to work with is somebody who's pre-qualified. That's not true. Work for buyers who have 10% they can pay down. That'll cover the commission, 6%. Closing costs, another 1%. The seller will get about 3% cash, and the seller will get a note and deed of trust. Or the seller might say, heck, I want 20% down. Well, why can't the family get together and put their funds together and form an LLC and help a young couple buy a home? Well, I can do the LLC agreement. So I usually try to get at least $4,000 on those deals, 1%. So sometimes depends on how large the sale price is. I might lower my price to 0.5%. But that's what I enjoy doing on a professional level. Back to my pair. So this is July the 13th, 2015, and I was talking about Roundup. So we ought to ban Roundup in the county. France has banned retail sales of Roundup, and commercial use is permitted. I assume they're going to ban that too. Sri Lanka elected a new president. The first thing he did is he banned Roundup. Roundup is a slow poison, and the way it works is that it kills certain bacteria in the soil and in your stomach too. It kills the bacteria in animals that lives in their stomach that is essential for digesting food. So people have stomach problems. Roundup will kill those. It'll kill them in the soil. You'll find that a farm that's sprayed with Roundup doesn't have any animals. No worms. All those animals that used to go through the farm and sometimes eat part of the crop, they're gone. They'll die if they hang around very long and eat that stuff. So Roundup is a fraud. One of the greatest frauds of all time. And it's everywhere. And it probably causes cancer in humans. This is an herb. These are chives. So, just ban it. The next question, is it the business of Snohomish County to be banning the spraying of toxins. I say, why not? The state hasn't done anything yet. The legislature's gone home. Counties probably have the power to do it. 2 counties in Oregon have done it, down in the very southern part. One of them is Lincoln County. The county of Maui has made some legislation about being mostly organic. I don't know the details. Go to my website, jamesrobertdeal.org, and go to organic-county and read about what I am proposing. I'm proposing to revive agriculture in Snohomish County and make a lot of people very good incomes growing organic crops of all different kinds. Form a brand. Call it Snohomish County Organic. It'll be famous around the world. Our hay will be organic. This is a great place for growing hay. And a lot of hay is it's organic, but then at the very end it's sprayed with Roundup, because Roundup is a desiccant and it dries things out. This is beautiful. I get a salad every day. That's sure good, man. It's been washed by the rain and by fluoridated water. So I'm eating some fluoridated water. There's so many absurd things going on. Those are poisons being sprayed in the watershed like Roundup. And Roundup does the same thing to fish that it does to animals. It kills certain bacteria in their digestive system. They can't digest properly. So it sickens them and it kills them. There's documented double-blind studies that show that. So why are we spraying our watershed? And it's being sold by the gallon. You would think that now that the announcement came out that it's a type 2A carcinogen, the government would immediately have said, let's just not be using this anymore. But nope. The 2006 report on fluoride came out, and everybody thought, my God, this paints such a clear picture of how it can cause harm and does cause harm. And it's inevitable that it will cause harm to every person who drinks it. We all thought, oh, right away Congress will ban fluoride. No, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Same thing with Roundup. It's a profit center. Money has power. I call them matrix corporations. Monsanto is a matrix corporation. And a lot of the drug companies are matrix corporations. Profits matter more than anything else. So I would work very hard to get fluoride out of your drinking water, protecting your health. That's the first thing that I will do as your county executive, is protect your health. The current people who've been in office haven't done anything to protect your health. They allow fluoridation. They're not planning to do anything about Roundup. I will. It's sprayed on the streets in Linwood. Now, one thing I learned from my dear wife is that tomatoes can grow really tall if you have something to hold them up. So I'm going to push these up against these posts and let that guy grow really tall, and use these to rope off, because you got to keep it roped. Let's see, I haven't used ropes on these yet, but I'm going to start right here with ropes and then tie the ropes to these, so the whole thing will be, you'll probably get up to the top. And then sometimes in the fall, in September and October, we have winds, so I'm going to attach a rope and stake it over there to hold it up if there's a strong westerly wind. So we've got to get the fluoride out of the water. Payne Field, they're trying to turn it into SeaTac North. If you let a little bit of commercial airline traffic in there, there's no stopping it. And SeaTac is maxing out. We're adding several million people, 200,000 people to the county in the next 20 years. Millions to the state. They've got growth fever. So They will develop Payne Field as a big SeaTac North. So Dave and John are both in favor of that. John signed the lease. Dave campaigned for it in the city council, and it won the city council 5-2. Now Mr. Tisdall is in favor of it, and I strongly urge you to vote against him. I'm against commercial airline traffic at Payne Field. There were applications for commercial traffic at Boeing Field, which is right in near the domes, King Domes, the new domes. And Seattle said, you know, there are better uses of that land than having another SeaTac. With all the parking, with all the service industries, FedEx would want a place to store all of its stuff. It would just take up land that can be better used for other purpose. Well, Payne Field can be better used for other purposes. Boeing says that it doesn't mind if a small airport were developed there, but nobody's asked them, would you mind if we had a SeaTac North here? Of course they would. Other airline companies might want to move here. And there's also military significance to this. See, these are faba beans. Can you see them? That's way too dark. There's light over here. Payne Field was a U.S. Army Air Force base during World War II. And the property was deeded to the county, but there was a rider in the deed which imposes certain restrictions. One of those is we have to go by FAA guidelines. And Dave and John are afraid that if we say no to commercial air traffic at Payne Field, we'll lose our federal money from the FAA. Well, Seattle turned it down. We'll turn it down. There will be a long drawn-out battle with the EISs, and then we'll appeal to our senators and our representatives, and it'll die. We don't want commercial air traffic at Payne Field. It's uneconomical, and a lot of people favor putting an airport there because they think, well, I hate driving all the way to Seattle. How about let's look at the sunset? Can't see the plants anymore. Let's look at the sky. See if I can zoom in. Ooh, it's zooming. Look at that tree. There was a crow fight this morning. I will tell you, those crows were so loud. I don't know what they were fighting about. But we had to close the windows. We can see the Olympics from upstairs and from downstairs and from our backyard. They're very beautiful. As I said, national defense, if there's ever a need for it in the future, the military should be able to use Payne Field again as a military base. But if you have SeaTac North there, there won't be any room for it.